Hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Now this episode is brought to you by Ernex. So just like the title of these episodes, baristas and coffee professionals, we need a break to be able to recharge and really operate at our highest potential. And your equipment is essentially the same way. It needs to be cleaned and cared for on a regular basis in order to make amazing coffee consistently. And for that job, I recommend and use Ernex. They've been creating cleaning products for the coffee industry for over 80 years. They develop products for an incredible range of equipment, everything from cold brew, steam wands, grinders, brewers, espresso machines. They even have the world's first dedicated cleaner for roasters. And what is great about the company is that they work hand in hand with coffee professionals all over the world to attest and give them feedback on and to help develop these products to make sure that they are effective and that they're easy to use in the shop. It never ceases to amaze me how powerful Ernex products are at cleaning what needs to be cleaned on the coffee bar. The bottom line here is this. The cleaner your equipment, the better your coffee is going to taste. And the best cleaning products are made by Ernex. So I would encourage you, go find out more information about these wonderful products over at ernex.com. So I wanted to record an episode for you all that I hope will be encouraging to those of you who are in positions where you are new and you are feeling a bit awkward. And it's kind of a painful process. You don't know as much as you want to know. You can't answer questions the way that you want to be able to answer questions. Or maybe you think you ask too many questions and that people are just, getting sick of you asking questions. All in all, it's kind of like being that new barista. And this might be you. Like when you're a new barista, you feel like, where do I put myself? I don't know what's going on. It's so chaotic. I'm not familiar with what my hands should be doing, what I should be saying, what buttons to push. Everything is new and it's overwhelming. You're taking on so much at one time and it feels like nothing is happening. So I want to talk to you about that today by drawing a comparison between that process and the roasting process. This is something that I often think about in terms of endothermic versus exothermic. Or just generally, you can think of this as developing a great coffee in the roaster. What happens in the beginning of this process is room temperature coffee is put into a supercharged environment. And what it does is it lowers the temperature of the roaster by being there. Okay, this is the feeling you get when you are dropped into a situation and you're kind of in the way. You're in the shadow shift mode and you're kind of in the way. This is normal. The endothermic phase in roasting is when you take on a ton of energy, the ambient energy from the roaster, just the same way you as a new barista, or you could be a new manager. It doesn't matter. How many years you have in coffee, if you're dropped into a new situation, you're going to, by necessity, have to take on the ambient energy of that environment in order to develop yourself. The same thing is true for coffee. A well-developed coffee is one that takes on heat, and that heat changes its composition. And you can sense that this is happening to you weeks or a month after you've begun this new position. And it's easy to use the comparison of being a new barista because that's so visceral for so many of us. That's our first coffee job. You go from feeling in the way and needy to all of a sudden competent, skillful, and you catch yourself sort of giving other people instructions that are new. Like you've gone from being uncomfortable with yourself to almost reaching this equilibrium, right? You feel more grounded, and at a certain point, you start to add your own energy to the environment. And in roasting, this is something that happens called being exothermic. The bean takes on enough energy that it starts to give off its own energy. Developing as a professional is a lot like this process, okay? You take on all the information. You take on all the culture, all of the places to put your towels, the way that we tamp, the way that we mop, the way that we schedule, the way that we hold meetings. All of those things are being taken in, and eventually you're full. And you start to influence now. You start to be a more of a voice of authority within the environment you have been dropped into. And that's the phase that it takes time. So, and like I said in the beginning, this is not something that happens only once in your career, and then when you take on a new job, all of a sudden it's just, easy. You may be you may be more prepared for it, but it's not necessarily going to be much different. You're always going to have to be absorbing energy and then using that to help develop yourself and then giving back that energy to your environment. That's the process. So for me, this is a helpful analogy. Thinking of myself as, as I move through my career, I'm constantly being developed, and I'm being developed in new ways all the time. And this process that you're going through, if you're feeling awkward or if you're feeling useless, which are all things that I've felt and feel sometimes when I'm taking on new challenges, this is part of the process. Don't hate this process, please. Embrace it. Take on as much as you can. Don't try to rush the process. Don't try to skip to being fully developed. That really makes bad tasting coffee when we do that in the roaster. And it really doesn't make for great professional development when we do it with our careers. So I hope that this is kind of an encouragement to you. It doesn't matter who you are, what job you do, or how long you've been in the industry. We all have to go through these phases. And it's really great to be able to go through the process and look back and say, I can see how I changed. And I can see now that how I've developed over that time has allowed me to be effective in helping other people and being influential in other people's lives further down the road. So I'm rooting for you. I hope that this was helpful. And I'm really thankful that you all have taken the time to join me on the show. And I will see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.